Okay, on today's video, I am actually going to cover trademark issues as it pertains to Google Ad accounts that you may be running. And had run into an actual dreaded trademark issue, i.e. you got an email from Google saying that your ads are disapproved and you got it and for reasons of violating trademark. So I'm going to go into what that is, how to deal with it, potential workarounds, and the workarounds aren't going to be, stupid like, just do another ad here. I'm going to give you real strategies I use to work around these issues all the time. And you could take that information and have a much better result for yourself in the situation that you're in, learning how to deal with it. For a lot of other people, you're trying to deal with your ads and you don't know what to do. You're in a situation where you can't not use the trademark in the ad. I got explanations of what to do then. There's false positives that people are having. You can't wonder, there's no trademark here. What, like, Corey, what the heck do I do here? There's no reason why they should disapprove my ad. I'm also going to go over and explain that as well, if that's you as well. Okay, here. So, how to work around campaign trademark violations on Google Ads. As usual in my videos here, I have a short list of things to cover, things to do and not do, how to work around the issues, how to make as much money as you can with having a trademark issue, to deal with it, and how to be able to go from where you're at now to resolution of the issue as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So anyway, the first thing on my list here are the reasons why that you get an actual trademark violation on Google in the first place, right? First issue is you're making a competitor's campaigns ad. So what I mean by competitor campaigns, this is actually just what I call campaigns. So there's certain campaigns that I have videos about this where, and a lot of people are going to call me an a-hole for doing this, but that's their own opinion, and there's nothing against the rules to do it, where my competitors, or for whatever client that I'm representing, will make a list of all their competitors' product names, trade names, corporate names, domain names, and we'll have our ad show up when you type in those keywords of our competitors that represents those four categories there roughly, so that our ad shows up at the very top, so that we can siphon off traffic for people who maybe they got a referral to go to that site, they typed it in, and now we can redirect them to our site, get their attention. A lot of times what we're doing there is we're saying, don't go with their product. Ours is 3 times better for half the price. Which, if you're not doing that, by the way, and you're just having your ad showing up there and hoping that it works, generally speaking, your quality scores are going to be so low that it isn't going to work. And I also break it down on a product by product basis. So I'll do a matrix of, we have this product, it's comparable to this competitor's product. It has 27% more horsepower, it's 17% less expensive. The ad shows up for people typing in that specific product, and that's exactly what we tell them. 26% more horsepower, 17% less expensive. Therefore, you should come and check our product out. It's a better deal. Anything in what you're doing with these marketing and with Google Ads, if you're taking the time to help the user, Google's going to help you out, and your wallet's going to be filled up the more of that you do. And of course, we only have so much time of the day, but your goal is to always do more than what your competitors are doing at the very least. So you're in that 10 to 20% who really makes most, if not all of the money, let's just say, in a market space. Most everybody usually doesn't make any money. They don't know it, or very, very little. I just know that through being 15 years of experience doing this kind of stuff for people in businesses I've ran. But you have the competitor campaigns going. Sometimes, so technically, Google will let you do it in terms of having the name. So if I wanted to have, just what I described to you, the name of the competitor's product, I could say competitor's product, insert name, literally speaking, is dog crap. Our product is better because of X. People who switch will spice it up even more. People who switch will do this also as well. if you switch this month, or if you buy our product this month and you're considering the other product, we'll give you this. That's an ultimate way of doing that, by the way. But so you can say also, tired of competitor name, question mark. If it's a product that you regularly use, try our product. It's not so crappy. But if you do that, technically it's a trademark violation if the competitor wants to pursue it. It's one of those things where it's better to do than ask, of course. You do it, your competitor, if they're not paying attention, maybe never they'll even complain about it, and the ad works like 3 times as good than saying tired of crappy products. When you're actually mentioning the competitor's name there, when the person itself is meant to have searched for the competitor's name and then now see your ad there, it works like roughly basically 3 times better than saying their name versus not saying their name. So that's the case to say their name. And so, but sometimes you'll do it, and then right away you'll get a trademark violation. I'll explain why. Sometimes you'll do it and it'll take 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years for you to get your ad disapproved saying trademark violation. Maybe never. At the very least, for a while you're going to make some money, so why not do it? And maybe you get away, half the time, or more I should say, they never say anything to you. And it's usually bigger companies that actually have lawyers, in-house legal staff that will actually police that. Otherwise, they just won't even notice it, or if they do notice it, they won't know what to do with it or do anything about it. So you'll have to then, when your ad does though get disapproved, trademark violation, what do you do? Well, of course, so actually I'll get to that in a minute. So that's one situation where a trademark violation comes up. In other words, you're deliberately violating the trademark, even though, so that's just not a legal thing, it's just a civil thing that you can get sued for that. You can't go to jail for that. I think we all know that. Just wanted to clarify. So therefore, that's why when you push the envelope on it, you can decide for yourself if it's worth the risk. If you can make another 50 grand a year by having that ad under all your competitors' products, the way that I said, which is so profitable, where that is kind of realistic. You just have to weigh your pros and cons there, I guess. And again, if it's a bigger company, it's way more risk than if it's a small company where it's basically no risk and everything everywhere in between. You can actually, a second way you get a trademark violation on an ad and disapproval on an ad is when you do it on accident. So, let's say you sell auto parts, you sell high performance exhaust for cars, and it's a exhaust for a BMW 325i exhaust, and you run that ad, and then Google comes back. I know the BMW is one that I know automatically kicks things out just from experience in the past for selling auto parts myself, not for clients. That they'll kick it out, and you can't use it, which is a problem. Of course, sometimes brand names are very ambiguous. It might be like IIS. It's just like a random initials, but there's a company out there who contacted Google and said that they don't want ads to show up under the brand name, and you may be selling a product that it's an ambiguous term. IIS might be the best way to describe what you're selling, and then now you're in a situation where I can't even just put on the ad what it is that the consumer's typing in here. What do I do? So, in other words, with that situation, it's an accident. And in other times, it technically is an accident, but it's not so much of an accident as, you legitimately understand why it got kicked out. BMW is their trademark. I can't put that into my ad. Other times, I don't understand this name, but really it's another, maybe a trade name for a competitor. You don't know why they've got it filed as a trade name somewhere, but they did. And yes, that same term can be used for a lot of other things, including what you sell, but tough nuggets. It is what it is, sort of there. Again, there's workarounds. I'm going to get to that in a minute. So, and in the BMW situation, or, like IIS is a term that can be used for a bunch of different, it means a bunch of different things, one of which is some random company's trademark. And so what they did, though, in either of those cases, BMW, IIS, they contacted Google, and there's an actual specific process. And if you, by the way, want to block your term, you can. The consumer can bid on the ad space on Google for what shows up under your term. That's legit. You can't block that. What you can block is whether or not they use your actual name or whatever trade names you have in the ad by doing a trademark violation or trademark block. I don't know exactly what it's called. Trademark blocking request. You fill out the form. You tell what terms that you don't want people to use in their ads. And then once that's done, automatically when you have the ad with it in there, it gets kicked out. So it's an automated process. So if somebody's filed to block a certain term, you have it in the ad. You now have an ad that says it's disapproved for a trademark violation. That's why. So anyway, that goes over how it happens. Now, here's the actual good stuff, the ways to work around the issue itself. So the first thing is you're not going to use the same ad as before, of course, here. We're not just going to hope that it just, the ad fairy comes, you know, and helps us out here. We put our head in the sand, it goes away. We have to do something here. And then here's what we do, basically. So you could change the spelling of what is in the ad that's got the trademark request filed behind it using a bunch of different ways, actually. But one of my favorite here is special characters. So technically, this is a fine line. If you get caught, I don't even want to say anything because it's 99% of the time Google don't care, but technically I still got to give you the disclaimer so you don't come after me and sue me for this. So technically you're not supposed to be able to trick the Google Ads system. And if you have an ad that's violated, and they even say this under where the disapproval is, if you put something through and you're trying to trick them, then technically they could kick you off at Google Ads. But I've never, ever seen that or heard anybody, and I've talked to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that's ever happened. So it's more like a dry, or kind of a dry thread, if you will. So, but you know, if let's say Apple, let's say you can't use the word Apple. I know that's a trademark filed term. A-P-P-L-E. Instead of A-P-P-L-E, it could be A-P-P capital I-E, so that it's not the same word anymore. And again, because this is a automated system, you'll get past the system a lot of times. Now, that in itself, I know, just doesn't work. So the system's not, they've built in some other, you know, Boolean logic to it so that you can't get around it that easily. And again, that's a gray area whether or not you're trying to trick them or not. Really, it's not the same term anymore, so technically you're not violating the term. If the trademark violation actually in a legal sense is when you trick somebody. So, but if you're offering Apple MacBook repair, you're not tricking anybody. So really, it's just, it's not really even a trademark violation. Google just, in terms of their way to deal with it, is this form. They don't go on a case-by-case basis because it's too much overhead. So if you change the way Apple's spelled, technically you're not violating the law. You weren't even violating the law, and now it's just Google's rules. And now you change the spelling of the term, and technically then they also don't care anymore. Let's just put it that way. But usually you have to go a step further anyway, and that's where you use the special characters. That could be having, you know, like an R symbol at the end of the word or a TM symbol after the end of the word to make the word different so the algorithm doesn't kick it out. Sometimes you can put a space in between certain letters, so APP space LE. You can put, you know, hash symbol in there. There's some different stuff you can do. I'm not going to give you all the exact things that I do because I don't want to give away everything here, and I also don't want to encourage you to do something which may come back and bite you. But for the most part, I mean, again, if you aren't actually violating trademark and you have to have, I mean, if you're selling BMW exhaust and someone types that into Google and you can't say BMW, you're kind of screwed, right? Because if you just say exhaust, how are you going to be able to help that user find what you want? there's no legitimate way. Of course, you could just assume that they see exhaust there and then they've searched for the right thing and then you send them to the right page, it'll take care of itself. But Google's quality score system then will not like the fact that you have a high click-through rate on your ad, and then your cost per click goes up. So you got to do something. And it's either you do nothing on that term or you try to do one of these workarounds. So that's mainly what you do. Let's just say that. And then, of course, and by the way, with that, technically they say that they could kick you off if you try to resubmit the ads a bunch of times. But if you're actually legitimately changing the ad each time, you're not going to piss them off to where you have anything to worry about. So you try adding some special characters. You try adding some spaces in the word. You try adding special characters and spaces. Change the spelling itself, A-P-L-E. And yes, that's not ideal. That's my least favorite way to do it, because that confuses the user. But that's another way that you could do it. If the word's long and people don't know the spelling, just change the spelling. It's going to be my first choice. But if it's short and people already know what the spelling is, I'm going to first try the special characters first, just to let you know. So what I'll do is I'll know, just so you're prepared, the first 2 or 3 things you try won't work, but you'll have a whole list of 10 things. You just write them down. If I don't get this, here's my second, third, fourth, fifth choice. Eventually you'll find, and you'll test it on just one ad. You'll find something that works, and then all other ads with that same term in there that kicked it out, you'll update it with all the same strategy at that point in time, so that you also aren't risking too much Google getting upset that you're literally split testing one ad with a special character this versus what you had before, and then you go from there. And if you're wondering what's in the ad that's the problem, of course on the trademark violation it tells you the exact word that's the problem. So you always know, and then so it's just a matter, okay, with that word, is it special characters, is it spaces? Is it spaces and special characters? Am I going to spell it differently? There's certain letters. I'm just trying to think of an example off the top of my head. Where the letter is silent, where you could just take out that letter, or an E sounds like an I, so you can replace I and E. I think you get my point there. So you just don't give up right away. Start with the stuff that's more ideal, and then you'll eventually find a point where something works, and then you can use it from now on. So ultimately, and if you can't actually use, so this is just another quick disclaimer. If you have to get too far from the actual name of the trademark, and where you can't use the trademark, and you need to use it in the ad, like the BMW exhaust example, maybe you put B space M space W, and then no space but an S after it. BMW's and then your exhaust, or BMW's custom exhaust, that gets by. Just make sure on the landing page you have, at the very least along with that, you'll help yourself out a bit more by having the headline say BMW custom exhaust, where it's written out fine, because they don't check your landing page most of the time anyway. Well, 99.9% of the time, trademark, they don't care about any of that. So then at least, so you're getting most of what you want done as far as the user recognizing that what you offer there on the ad, and not getting the trademark violation. And then for what little bit of confusion with your user that's left, they get to the site that's instantly resolved for them. So you get why I would want you to do that. So anyway, though, the other thing that you can do is contact Google's trademark review department. And just to be honest, you have to have a decent spend for this. One thing a lot of people don't know, as far as support, the more you spend, the better the support you're going to get. And that's also why it helps to work with the firm, because they're going to get automatically better treatment. So they can get you in with the better support that you would normally get in general, because they have more, they have other accounts, some of them that spend more, and then therefore they can get in and get better attention from the support, so on and so forth. But if you have a high spend, that person will be able to pull some strings for you and actually go into the appropriate part of the company where they could get something like that, overridden for you. But it's going to be difficult, and if you're not spending like $100 grand a month, like I said, probably not going to have that as an outlet. But I thought I'd mention it anyway. So anyway, that's what you do with it. B here being the main thing that you can actually really, for 98% of people are going to be able to do. But this virtually always works. It's just a matter of how close to ideal you're going to be able to get. And for most things, the campaign, I've had where I have to change it. The campaign pretty much performs almost identically as it did before. I might lose 5% of the action of what I could have got in terms of cost per click, in terms of the click-through rate now going down because I don't have BMW, it's B space M space W space with an S after it. I lost 5%, but at the same time, nobody else can bid on that term. So if you think about how many people aren't going to know how to do B here, it washes it, it evens itself out. It's all a wash at the end of the day. You're going to make money that wouldn't have been there if other people haven't gotten kicked out for that same term. And also, their ads now won't say BMW on it anymore. So your ad that most closely says the actual trademark term, it'll be your ad that they click on, so it can really be a blessing in disguise. So therefore, you shouldn't even worry about this. It should not slow you down. You see this, you do it as I mentioned here, go through the mini process I told you about. You passed it, you don't have any more issues with it. It's not going to slow you down from making money at all in the end, really. If you think about the whole package of how the dynamics of all this stuff works, the way that I explained it. The places, by the way, where this is usually an issue is part sellers. So I mentioned the BMW example. I sold aftermarket auto parts before. There was some brand names that were trademarked, so that was really an issue for us. Other accounts like that, if you sell, of course, like toner for different printers. I remember in that particular situation, for example, HP blocked all ads with HP on it. Well, when somebody's looking for HP, LaserJet 101 toner, because that's the name of they usually search for the make and then the model of the printer. Not always, but generally. You can't say HP. You could say the model name, which is still, that's usually pretty good. But the fact that they don't have HP in there is a problem. So, H space P, and again, based upon other people now that our competitors just gave up on it. 75% just gave up on it, and they didn't do what I told you to do here. We dealt with it. But that's another example. Machine rental. So I've had clients in the past that sold different electronics equipment, stuff that you would have at a convention or something like that. They're looking for a specific part equipment, or also like computers for offices and stuff like that. They're looking for specific machines to rent. And so what do? They search for the machine, rent / lease / whatever. Those are the main things there, by the way. Then with that, if you can't actually type in what you can't say in the ad what that's the machine, given that's the machine they're looking for, it gets difficult. So, but if you use B again, you slide right past it. And another place where the trademark is a really big issue is if you sell accessories. Let's say you sell an accessory for iPhone accessories. Well, iPhone will be blocked. If you can't say iPhone chargers, and that's what they're searching for, what the heck do? You have to use the strategy here that I'm talking about. But in the case that you do, again, instead of having 50 competitors, well, let's just say 25 competitors. A lot of people don't recognize how many people are competing against you in the Google ad space, because the ads get rotated out through, it's called whatever percentage of the time you show up in the top 4 spots is search impression share, and you might only get 20%, and the other, so really there's 20 people being cycled out instead of 20 now, because everybody gave up. Now there's 5. Get my point? So and a blessing, it could be a blessing in disguise, like I said. And for me, I'd almost say, if I were me, not me trying to help the client because it gets to be a pain, but if I was in the business myself, I would almost want it to be trademarked because I know I've got this silver bullet ready to go at a moment's notice to get around it, and then where you got less competition, so there's less price sensitivity, so on and so forth. Trying to file an appeal or otherwise contacting support in terms of dealing with this trademark issue, though, I will say often does not actually work. Like I said, if you have some pull, you've spent a ton of money with Google, the person that you're dealing with may be able to help you. But if you think, so first of all, not dealing with it, as I mentioned, ain't going to help you, or you're not going to get past it. Wishing it to go away ain't going to help. If you contact Google and you say, like, I sell, you know, iPhone chargers, how am I supposed to be able to sell this if I can't say iPhone chargers in my ad? They're not going to give you any sympathy either. It's an automated system, and then if you do get a hold of someone at Google and you don't have, and you know, the lowly person you are, you don't have $100K a month in spend, they're just going to say, sorry, we can't do much for you, just to save you some time. But you can do what I mentioned here. But again, general disclaimer, you're on your own. You do this stuff based upon what you do and come up with to fix the problem. Don't try to trick Google. Don't try to trick the user. Try to help the user. You need to help the user so you can help yourself out, sell to them, but you got to be conscious and aware of the other company that is in the, you know, that has filed a trademark appeal, and that ultimately they don't get disgruntled, and whatever you have to show them is not tricking the user so that they can feel like that you're wronging them still, which for the most part, like I said, if you did it right, it shouldn't trick anybody, and you're not even trying to trick them in the first place, or just, you know, getting around a false positive, if you will. But you're on your own, and I don't want to be responsible for anything that, you know, that where the other company might get ticked off, even though they're not supposed to or have to. There's situations I can see where this information would be misconstrued and used in a bad way, and so you have to make your own judgment call when you're going to use this. That's all I'll say. Leave it with that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I have a lot of other PPC strategies that I use to guarantee our clients' results that I share on this channel. Over 100 videos now at this time. Go ahead and check those out if you are really trying to figure out how to make a lot of money with PPC. It's all there. I also have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog where I have actual step-by-step instructions on how to roll out campaigns that I actually do build for our clients to guarantee the results as well. If you prefer that kind of a, you know, tutorial on how to build PPC campaigns that work. And if you have any questions about the trademark violations, anything that I didn't cover, leave a comment down below. I get back to everybody who does comment on my channel and answer any questions that they have or anything like that. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope this helped you and inspired you to get around this issue so that it doesn't become an issue in your life and what you're trying to do with your business.